Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case. There has been some very strange activity and attitudes in recent time, which I'll be going over briefly, but more importantly today, what I want to focus on is a bit of a map analysis and the general talk and theme. What others have gone on about already is partygoers or someone or some people know exactly what happened to Noah Presgrove, but they're not talking. There seems to be an expectation or a known thought that that's the way it is, that partygoers do know what happened to Noah. And because it's silent, it must mean that they're hiding stuff. But do we actually know as a fact that partygoers or some were around Noah at the time of his death? What we always need to acknowledge is, for those that know will know. For those that have background information and possible video footage, they will have a certain outlook. And if they're looking at facts, hard evidence, it's understandable why they may think a certain way, even if it does come across as murder. But for the majority of people that don't have access to that material, and even someone like me, there's got to be a give and take attitude in understanding. Not everyone can think the same way. What I want to do today, based on a theory, an idea, apply it to the maps, a visual sense, and break it down event by event and try and figure out who was present and so on to get a general idea and pattern. Whilst people like to make the pattern of Caleb Newton, wherever he goes, death follows shortly afterwards. Are there any party goers that were present whenever Noah Presgrove is injured or hurt or slapped on the receiving end of something as a joke or something more serious? A constant person remains present. Is that even possible? Join me today for that, and welcome to those that are present during the live premiere. You let me know your live reactions in the chat box on the right side of the screen. If you are watching at any point, even on catch-up, leave your additional comments down below under the video. It really does help with spreading awareness, and then more people get to see the videos, and it can lead to ongoing conversations in the comments, which can create new ideas and learning. So that is appreciated, and credit to those that have done so in recent time and continue to do so. If you are interested in previous coverage on the case, if you've missed out on any videos, don't worry. You'll be able to find out all top right corner where the eye symbol is up there, and you get the drop down menu box. If you do want to support my channel whilst covering this case, etc., down below in the pinned message underneath the video comment section, there will be a PayPal link to me and channel membership. The order of how we'll do things today: I'll mention the new observations and the recent strange behaviour which has come about, and it may shock you. Analyse that first, then transition onto the map and the whole conversation of, do partygoers actually know what's up? Is there any footage which could support that, or could the cameras be the eyes and knowing of what actually happened, and so on? So, first of all, has there been any side news which has come about in recent time? It's kind of on the sideline because it's a person within the case, community, I should say. If you remember Vanessa Salazar, like how you had Joy, what was it? You had, there was one individual that was quite loud and typed in capital letters, Dina Rose, and they passed away for health related or whatever. In terms of Vanessa Salazar, how are people quite familiar with that individual, kind of vocal within the case community? In recent time, August, a few weeks ago or something, they have supposedly passed away themselves, Vanessa Salazar. There's a few people reached out and, made the reference. That's how I found out. Guess it's just because of people within different communities and cases and whatnot, because we know Presgrove, something to do with falling out of a bed and breaking their neck, but some people were a little bit skeptical of it. So you had that coming about, but on a personal level, what I've come across is people begging for coverage to stop, right? More than one person, and it's very strange. When you think of covering a case, keeping it alive, you would associate that with being a good, positive thing, right? But people have been complaining here and there. about, oh, we're going round in circles, it's not going anywhere, oh, it needs to stop. I wish this person would stop covering the case. It's one of the most dumbest things I've heard out there. It's like saying, I wish you would stop feeding my dog. I wish you would stop feeding and cat sitting my cat whilst on holiday. I wish you would just leave it alone so it would just die and starve. Great attitude to have. One of the most pathetic mindsets I have seen out there. Okay? For the people that do say certain coverage isn't of value or of interest, it's just going round in circles, it's not helping, that it should just all stop altogether. Well, why don't you stop yourself in complaining and stop in consuming? Because whilst these observations are being made, these whiny observations by people, they are contributing to it. They're watching the videos, they're supporting the channel, okay? They're fueling the one thing that they hate. So, you know, the contradictions, walking contradictions, can you even believe in what they say? Probably not. Maybe they don't even know where they are themselves. But the other mindset of we're just going round and round in circles, only an impetuous individual would think that way. I mean, me personally, not been going in circles. I've been looking at it in different ways every time. Just to think, you can look at the same event. You can look at the same sub-factor over and over again, but from different angles, different points of views, different peoples, different attitudes, different camera angles, different footage of the same location, of the same event, but just in a different style, a different format, a different perspective, which opens up different opinions, which opens up different theories. And it splits and it disperses and it opens up very wide like a mind map. It's exactly what happened in the Kenny Veach case. It's exactly what's happened in the Dylan Rounds case and any other case that I cover in between. I have it under control. Other humans who can't open their mind and can't demonstrate that full perspective just jump in and diminish it all and say, we're going round in circles. You might be. I'm not. It's as simple as that. It's unusual, isn't it? But the good thing is, regular people, whether you be watching in the background or, commenting, people that do watch my channel, they can think in different ways. And I'm sure they're not going round in circles because they question stuff which hasn't been questioned before. They mention points which I may have not mentioned before. And it just keeps going in a good way. You've got to take in consideration, there's only so much that you can do realistically, especially when there's a great wall of silence. Maybe there are things going on in the background, but on the public surface level, maybe not as much. So what else can you do? I think if it is deemed as going round in circles, but just trying to understand, that's a lot better and more healthy than other people twiddling their thumbs, whining and complaining and doing the drama and the conflict back and forth on Facebook pages, right? It's a little bit more controlled here. It needs to be somewhere at least. The other thing what I've noticed, I don't know if anyone else has, smaller channels, random people here and there coming and going, covering the Noah Presgrove case on YouTube. Some videos every now and then, some short clips too. What's triggered that all of a sudden? When you've had years or so of the case ongoing, when it would have been more active at the time and more never seen before stuff coming out. Why is it only now you've got some people picking up the scraps and pieces of the case, telling the story and giving little summaries and stuff? I think it's because of the whole legal court case documents. It seems to be when cases get to that stage and onwards, everybody else jumps on in and then decides to cover it. For me, that's not my style. I want to try and jump into it as soon as possible just to actively keep up with it. I mean, for people to say, don't be covering it all the time and stop, well, then it'll only get overwhelming. If you do stop, even just for 1 or 2 days, there's been times, the timing of it, and guess what's happened shortly after? There's been breaking news, there's been a shocking new development, and then you've got to try and gather all the pieces up to understand it. Yeah, it can be tricky. If you're constantly keeping up to date, it just makes it a bit easier to follow. I understand that when it comes to viewers that have been away for a while, they come in and wonder what's new, what's happened, and it can take time to adapt. It can be difficult for creators, it can be difficult for anyone that's trying to learn about the case and keep up with it. If it's, a not so active case and there's not much information coming through, there's not much talk, post and noise from others, it might be easier to keep up. But when it's very active and full, you got to keep going. And maybe some cases are more busier than others too. So they're just a little observations along the way. I think the general theme is, though, there seems to be a level of desperation. A level of desperation from some that want the case to cease in coverage, so it just dies and goes quiet. Really backwards thinking. Then you've got other little handfuls of people that are almost desperate in wanting it or making it look like that they want it to be a death, a murder, and even by the hands of partygoers. As said, you will get people every now and then that genuinely believe it to be a certain way. Murder, foul play, people involved, partygoers may know something. Those same set of individuals that are so bold and confident in their ways, if they have seen hard evidence in the background and private, and it's all true and it's all confirmed, fair enough. But you have to understand, not everyone else will see it your way, and not everybody else will easily go along with it with your words, because they need to see the hard evidence themselves, and maybe it's just not possible to be shown public. It's about having that understanding, but I don't think everyone has that self-control. There's been times in the past where some people have reached out to me in cases about some stuff, sensitive information, that this can't be said, that can't be posted, it can't be known by it came from that person because their life could be in danger, like the Dylan Rounds case. Never revealed the names, kept it quiet, within reason, still covered the case, still provided that perspective, and still said, well, this is the deal. These are the facts. This is what's happened. That's what's been said. I can't show you it because of certain reasons. I don't expect you to believe in it. I don't expect you to go along with it. If you question it, that's fine. But I know what I know based on what I've witnessed. If you want to listen to it, feel free. If you don't, that's okay. That's all it takes. That's how simple it is. If everybody had that same mindset, things would be a lot more peaceful and a lot more quiet and more controlled within reason, naturally speaking. But how often? Beside that, let's transition onto the theme of today's video, the discussions, the expectations, the feelings or the ideas that there are partygoers that know of something, they're keeping quiet, they're not revealing, they're not talking outwards. If that was true, would you honestly expect them to speak out or to confess? You could put the argument across and say, well, if they're so-called friends and they truly care and respect Noah, then they would speak out immediately. Well, what type of people are they, and what exactly do they supposedly know of? If they're known regular for killing and hurting and beating others, then likely they're not going to have much emotion or empathy in opening up or breaking. If it's a first-time thing and it's more so something went wrong or went too far or accidental, it might eat those people up a little bit more and make them say something. But you could put the argument across and say, because they haven't, then doesn't that mean that they're truly innocent and clueless as to what's really happened? I'll just give you one example. People could be involved indirectly and in the presence of Noah's death, but unknown to them. They don't know that it happened. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't be able to say anything. And what's an example of that? Whether you agree with it or not as a theory, Noah's in the back of a moving vehicle after sleeping in it, falling asleep. People get in, unaware that Noah's in the back. They drive off, down the highway, Noah stands up, falls out, hits the road, gets injured. Not to cause all of the injuries, could have been finished off by something else shortly after. But what I'm getting at is, in the moment of when it may have happened, under those circumstances, because the driver, passenger and anyone else, because they didn't know that Noah Presgrove was in the back of the truck, they wouldn't know that Noah fell out either. So they wouldn't feel any bit responsible or hold any role to the connection of Noah's death, because they have no clue where Noah was at that time in that moment. They had no clue that Noah was in the back of their truck. If they don't know, how do you expect them to know? I mean, I've said it over and over again in terms of my mind, with humans that I've dealt with time, how there seems to be an expectation that I am supposed to know it all and know what people are saying, when their descriptions and their communication is so piss poor. Right? So based off common sense, if there were people around Noah, but they didn't know that Noah was present, they wouldn't know what happened next. And whilst they were present, they wouldn't know the timing of it either, likely. The exact moment of impact, the exact moment of Noah falling or something like that happening. If it's straight up on site at the property or a little bit beyond, and Noah Presgrove is walking away and anyone does follow, then you can put the argument across and say, well, then technically they should know or know something. Let's head on over to the map right now to expand on that idea. The project which I'm using briefly for this is to do with confrontation, conflict, physicality, whether it's as a joke, a prank, or more serious, as you see it labelled out all there. Done a video about that already, going into depth, so if you would like to see it previous, you can do so, but just brief ones. So, with each event that happened at the party, is there a correlation with a specific event, maybe a little negative, which correlates to it being documented or at least witnessed by partygoers, right? What examples do we have? Second is Saturday. Shandon slapping Noah. Physical contact, yes. Maybe playing around. Were the witnesses? Absolutely. Did the witnesses speak about it? To my knowledge, I don't think so. But is it clear as day that they could and should or would? Then yeah. Do we need them to speak though? No, we don't. When there's footage, hard evidence and footage, that's more valuable than what the people within the frame or in the background as witnesses, what they saw. You want to see it firsthand. You want to see it through the eyes of what other people have seen with their eyes in the moment, instead of just hearing it from their mouth afterwards, right? So can we apply that same mentality with some of the other footage? Maybe the latter being Avery and Carter arguing on the front porchway. Okay, we've been told that. Maybe the family's been told that. Maybe it's been passed around to some extent that there is footage obtained, but it's not quite clear as to the real situation or where things are at. But are those words good enough to believe in? Maybe to some people, yeah. But wouldn't you want to see it through the eyes of someone that was there, as in the recorded footage? But what recorded footage would that be? Was it the Ring, the doorbell camera? Or is it that someone that was stood about recording it? Because I think either Justin Roy or Caden Pressey made a reference to that. We'll get to it. 12, basically past midnight, early Sunday morning, Noah yelling at Jack, to do with Jack flirting with Noah's girlfriend. Were people about for that? Seems to be. But was it documented? A negative event, and not even joking about. People were there to witness it. Caden Pressey was, and Caden told us about it. Justin Roy mentioned it. He wasn't there, but he got information passed on to him, and maybe from his nephews. But it was aggressive, pushing, shoving, broken up by Caden from what Justin says. But was it documented? Not from the looks of it. So, is this another pattern? That when there's a negative event, an actual negative event, which involves Noah, it's not recorded. Do people make a conscious decision to do that? See, sometimes when it comes to drama and conflict, or even a person jumping off a bridge or a dead body, or a car crash, people will rub a neck and even record it, take selfies and do all that. Would those same set of individuals do that at the party, which may involve Noah on the receiving end? Guess it depends. If people think it's cool, if people think, whoa, look at this memory, this is going to be so funny to look back on, so let's record it in the moment. Who knows? I mean, was there any cameras inside of the house beside outside of the house? From the party footage which I've seen, I don't remember seeing CCTV cameras. I mean, I tried looking at the outside property and I couldn't really see cameras either. Depends where they're placed, whether they work or not. It's just about understanding the camera, the angle. Because as much as we can say partygoers, there are some that know of what happened and they were there to see and witness it or hear from others. The cameras can also be witnesses as well. But it's that unfortunate conflict of were they working or not, because Stevie, I believe, has said they weren't working, but then at one point it was described by her that they were, after Noah had walked away. I still can't find that comment till this day, which is very strange. And other people have brought up some other comments by Stevie ever since. I'm also talking about the mini mart, the store, the gas station in Terrell, the cameras there which show whether traffic was coming by or not, but also made a reference to Bub Wilcoxon's house or cameras. But people were saying, well, Bub's house or something like that is in Terrell and not at the party house. But then other people were saying, well, no, they weren't exactly saying that the cameras at the property weren't working. It was they were talking about something else. It's a bit all over the place, a bit muddled, I'll be honest with you, but it doesn't matter in the moment. So this particular argument, right, involving Noah Presgrove on the receiving end in some extent. Is this the same example that was highlighted by the affirmative defence with the Carter Combs response a few days ago, in which Noah was described as the aggressor, as in starting a fight? Well, this example would prove that, but does it justify his death? No. And does this particular argument link to Noah's death? No, because this was Saturday and it was supposedly resolved from what Jack said, regardless of who started it. Avery finds Logan and Noah on the floor together and quotes, "I will kill you if you've done anything. If I find out you've done anything," as Avery said. Yes, a threat, not good. But if Noah didn't die, this threat would be deemed as just harmless. Was it documented or recorded? Supposedly not. Was it documented or a snap of Noah wrestling Mikey Lair Sunday night? Form of physicality, as a joke or not? Was it documented? Maybe not. But would it be deemed worthy of being recorded by someone, witnessed through the eyes of those that were there to watch it? You'd think so. Now, Caden Pressey made the reference to Noah wrestling Mikey, so likely Caden was about to watch it, probably. And if not, Caden probably heard it from somebody else that was there. Mikey fish-hooking Noah, Noah bites Mikey. Caden Pressey, I believe, described it himself, and Caden was there to witness it because he was beside him at the time. Was anyone else, maybe, or maybe they were doing their own thing but nearby but distracted? Brylan slapping no, Caden fully aware of that, Caden recording it too. So what Caden says in his words back up what's shown in the footage by the hands of the recorder. That's perfect example there of a witness seeing it take place, recording it as well. You get the pattern, right? Bedroom debacle, supposedly not recorded. Avery chasing Noah, is that what led to the verbal fight in the wrongful death lawsuit claim? Maybe. But involving Jack Newton, why Jack then? And then Jack and Noah argue Monday. At least that was mentioned in the early days by Justin Roy in the Partners in True Crime interview. That could well link in more so with Avery as well as the wrongful death lawsuit with an added name. Jack, arguing verbal fight. Was it recorded though, and where did it take place? These latter events are very important, and Noah walking away too. And Avery and Carter arguing on the front porch where he said, we go back to the party house as Noah is walking away. If people follow after him like Jack, Logan and Avery, some of which could explain why Avery and Jack were having a verbal fight with Noah. If Noah walked away and they're to give their peace of mind to Noah, they've got to follow Noah and say, hey, wait up, let me say a few things. And if that's outside, okay. If it's loud, was it enough for other people inside of the house to hear about it? Let's make one thing very clear. Besides Justin Roy that talked about it, I've never really heard it mentioned before by any partygoers in regard to Jack and Noah fighting or verbally fighting on the Monday. And whether that includes Avery as well in the wrongful death lawsuit. When I came across that wrongful death lawsuit in recent time when it was filed, it's the first time I have ever heard about it of a verbal fight with Jack Avery versus Noah. Never heard of it mentioned before. So the estate of Noah Nichols, the attorneys, the ones that wrote it up, where did they get that claim from? How were they influenced by it? Justin, yes, acknowledged that. Noah and Jack arguing on the Monday. Right, but what time? Unknown of. No mention of Avery. So that wrongful death lawsuit, which was written up and done, where were they influenced by Avery being involved? If the attorneys, the estate of Noah Nichols, the family weren't at the party at the time, they would have to gather information or learn from someone that was there at the party who saw it with their own eyes or maybe even documented it with footage to actually know it happened and exactly whom was involved against Noah. So I do find that interesting. Jack, in his own words, did say in Parts in True Crime that when Noah walked away, that it was Logan Jernigan last to see Noah walking off. Now, will that come up in the wrongful death lawsuit response by Logan Jernigan? No, because the accusations don't seem to be there towards Logan in that sense. It's more so in general to do with duty of care, as in partygoers and host being present and giving Noah alcohol, allowing this and that, and should have taken more care in some civil conspiracies as well for the danger of Noah. Now, will Logan give any additional response? Probably not. Keep it simple and straight to the point and formal and robotic. But in the future, when it does open up and the defendants can be more vocal, because Jack's a defendant, Logan's a defendant, will it ever come up in court or somewhere where they're questioned or interviewed, as in, well, Jack Newton said about you, Logan, we're last to see Noah walking off heading east, meaning Logan likely would have been outside, but why was Logan Jernigan outside when Noah was walking away? Did Logan follow Noah because she felt bad, she cared? There's got to be a level of care, concern, or a reason to follow Noah out to go outside, but then to just stand there and let Noah walk away, that's a little bit interesting. And whilst it's normal for Noah to walk off as usual, as Caden has said, and Jasmine, is it normal for people to go outside and then stand there and then watch Noah walk away? Why do they do that? Just to make sure he's going off in the right direction, to make sure he doesn't go off too far? Well, from the looks of it, he faded out into darkness because with the tree there's a blind spot and onwards there's no source of light, Noah will fade away into darkness, and it might have been worded that way in some sense by Jack. But Robin and Ashley said, well, Jasmine Millan told us something different, that it was Avery to see Noah walking away. To be honest, that could quite be possible. And maybe Jack as well. If Jack and Avery were last to see Noah walk off and were outside at the time, it could also tie in with that wrongful death lawsuit claim of the verbal fight with those three individuals, one-sided or not. However, if that did take place, could you whittle it down and say, at the time of when Noah walked off, the partygoers that witnessed Noah walking away are the people that know of what happened to Noah Presgrove but are not willing to talk about it? You could say that. But there's still that small chance that the people outside to witness Noah walking away may not always be the guilty ones, that someone in the house at that time could be a guilty one. And how? Because they could have come out of the house and left, walked off for whatever reason, and then catched up with Noah, walked by Noah, and something happened, just as an example. So it is easier to look at it as in the last known person or the last few people to have seen Noah alive or walking off, doing whatever, could be the true people that may hold the secrets and the answers. And if they don't say anything public, well, they must be hiding something. But did they at least cooperate with police? It's been said, yes, but are we going to know? Not a chance, because it's not been leaked, unlike Caden Pressey's police interview. So it does make it harder. Comparing Caden's interview, whether it's seen as truth and honesty, compared to partygoers that are keeping a tight lip and they're not being cooperative, they're hiding stuff, they know something, but they're not telling us. And if they're not telling us, it means they're keeping a secret. But Caden Pressey, well, he opened it all and was honest and perfect and clean. You can't compare it because Caden Pressey's police interview wasn't meant to be public in the first place. The other partygoers' police interviews have been kept private since because they've been handled better. You can't be comparing Caden's accuracy, Caden's honesty in terms of the police one, in comparison to partygoers who have not had theirs leaked. We don't know what the partygoers have said in those interviews. It's only Caden Pressey that has been a bit more open there, more so on Parts in True Crime, which was intended as a public type of interview or podcast, and like how Justin spoke as well, but Justin wasn't a partygoer. Jack Newton could be the exception because he did it with Parts in True Crime in a pre-recorded interview. But as for all the other partygoers, they've not done a public interview, so we can't really hear much or know much from them. They might have done some text conversations, messages on Facebook, and we'll do a separate video on that. But just about breaking it down, you've got Jack Newton, Avery Combs, or Avery Joe Howard, not Carter, Jack, Avery, and Logan Jernigan. 3 individuals that may have been present when Noah was walking off. Now, if they didn't follow Noah to wherever, and they just remained to stay where they were and then went back into the house and did whatever, then technically they're probably not going to know what happened to Noah Presgrove next. If anyone obviously followed after Noah or just walked in that direction, then they more likely higher chances that they would know of something. It doesn't always have to be that they know exactly what happened, but they may know of something that happened or know of someone that knows of something. Right? First-hand, second-hand information, first-hand, second-hand witness still makes you a person of interest. If one, you qualify as in knowing the individual, being present or close to the individual at some point, knowing of someone else that was close to the individual, maybe geographically speaking, and so on. But if there's anything really important or sensitive, as long as it's been shared with police, that's what matters. But it's the unknown what we're dealing with because we just don't know to some extent. Are we expected to know? No. Are we entitled to know? Maybe not. It might create a level of entitlement ever since Caden's was leaked, because we've had so much rich details and supposed information or hearsay to work with, so that some people are trying to compare it with other stuff, but it's just not possible. Then it creates that entitlement of, well, if Caden's is leaked, then so should everybody else's. I think I've seen a couple of people that have had that mindset or close to it, right? But honestly, using your thoughts, common sense and whatnot, for those people that truly believe that certain partygoers know exactly what happened to Noah Presgrove that early morning, causing Noah's death, and they're keeping quiet, to keep quiet would imply a level of guilt or could imply a level of being scared, life in danger, and they can't speak out. Even if there have been campaigns in the past, like Jan Fiorillo, to pay for legal costs to ensure that they're safe and secure if they do reach out first come, first serve. But that supposedly never followed through or happened. So maybe people aren't scared. Have we seen any hard evidence of people being scared? Well, there was one mentioned by Justin Roy, and it was applied to Mikey Lett. But how true is it? Is it? Well, there's not much context, there might not be enough, and it can't be, or it hasn't been shared public, so what can you do about it, right? Balancing act. I do understand in the past there's been people that have had their life in danger from trying to pass on information to me, so they did it anonymously or wanted me to do it anonymously, talk about it, highlight it, spread the awareness, but not say where it came from, because it might harm them. Did it ultimately lead to a case being solved? Not really. Did it always link to the absolute truth? Not always. So at times, some people may believe or think that they're in danger when they're really not. Certain dynamics behind it, it's not always that simple. But I just want to know your thoughts. With these events what I've listed and labelled out, a couple of them have been documented with footage and others haven't been. The negative events haven't been documented or at least shown public, which is convenient maybe for some. The Avery and Carter Combs arguing on the front porchway, probably to do with Noah, whether it be girl trouble, whether it be the bedroom debacle, whether it be blaming one or the other for Noah walking away, and that's what led to him going missing to some extent. Was Avery and Carter arguing before or after 4:30 in the morning from that snap of coming back from searching for Noah? I wonder. Still a few grey patches and areas. Caden Presley, I think, may have been the one that mentioned it, but not from what he witnessed, but what he heard or what someone else had said, that there was supposedly video footage of a person stood outside recording the front porchway with their own device of Avery and Carter arguing. Avery and Carter going outside to privately argue, but still close to the house door. But somebody else was outside at the time and recording. But from what angle? Round the back of the house? On the front area, looking at the house? Closer to the barn shed? Or on the dirt road? And who was that individual? Right? Who was that person recording Avery and Carter? From what Caden had said, I think it was Caden. And if not, Justin Roy, one or the other. Now, you might have to ring a doorbell camera, but did it work or not? Maybe some say it did and others say it didn't. In terms of the mini-mart camera, to do with traffic, that's down here, right? Not the party house. When traffic comes down here, it will pass, it will show on camera. If there's not much, motion of vehicles passing by, you could say, well, the highway was empty. That is a bit of an ignorant claim, because as long as there is traffic of vehicles higher up the highway, is that possible, providing they don't pass through Terrell, the town? Very possible. Why? Because there are back roads. Back roads here. Back roads there. Cars can turn off and take detours. Maybe trucks may not be able to. A back road there. So you could be going more so down south, then take a left, turn off down one of the dirt roads and go on elsewhere. Whether can you pass by the party house? Yes, you can pass by the party house going south and passing by earlier where Noah was to be found, and then taking a left turn off somewhere down there, possibly, right? You don't have to drive down and pass through Terrell. You can turn off beforehand. So there might be unknown traffic, unknown vehicles which may have passed down the highway around the time of when Noah walked away, and they were driving down south, kind of like supposedly Tyler Hardy and so on. But those other vehicles and people may have turned off in between, or were there earlier. Do you get what I'm saying? So it is possible to put the argument across that the mini-mart cameras may have not shown traffic, but the highway could have still been active further on up north, and as long as there's back roads before getting to Terrell, cars could have gone down and then driven off way over there to Fleetwood, to Texas, or wherever, right? You got to take that into consideration. If it was just one straight road and there was no turn-off points whatsoever, you couldn't even turn around, and there was traffic, you would expect that to pass through Terrell. But there's more factors to it, right? In terms of the cameras on site at the party house property and the trail cameras, that has been described as they weren't working. But some say that they were. And others say in between that maybe they were, but because it's the most critical piece of evidence, which I would absolutely agree with, hearing it from a witness is one thing, but seeing it with your own eyes through video footage, CCTV footage, it means everything. It's so much more important, right? So, with taking that in mind, if there was any footage from any of the cameras, people have been saying that maybe they were wiped and deleted. Would there be enough time to do that? Did police even consider looking at the cameras? I don't think they did. So, was there a reason for a search warrant on site at the party house property when, considering Noah was found down the highway? Some could say, well, you need to focus on the highway and not the house. I would say in general, to understand the full story, the house and the highway and in between, how Noah got from one place to another, to ultimately understand that, it would have been good to at least search the property, the party house, whether anything's found or not. What exactly? Searching for blood? Searching for fairy liquid? Searching for bubbles and things being cleaned, or skid marks and dirt marks or anything like that? Ruts in the ground? No. Just looking at CCTV footage goes a long way. Whether it be a missing person case or a true crime death, looking at CCTV footage is everything. You can't do that on the highway because there's no cameras there. So why not just trace back to the last known camera, wherever it is? And even if they don't work, just to inspect the cameras, look at them, however they're connected and however it saves the video footage. And let's just say they were searched, but they were empty, completely empty, but working, then that could raise suspicion. But we don't actually know as a fact whether the cameras, if they were working, whether they were wiped or not, right? But you can understand the attitude by some that if people genuinely believe that phones were factory reset and wiped off evidence, then likely cameras on site of the property, the same treatment would have been done there. The difference is, though, to some extent, the victim's family and the police, I don't believe, have ever made a reference to the cameras being wiped, as in CCTV or trail cameras. So we don't ultimately know. It doesn't always have to be partygoers that know exactly what happened to Noah and keeping quiet. It can be the cameras. And to some extent, the cameras don't lie. But if people on the receiving end of them are just, could be unfortunate. It'd also be interesting to know where are the cameras laid out and placed and what angle do they point in, because if they're pointed in the wrong direction, then they're pretty much pointless unless it records footage in the background, right? For Noah to walk off and for some people or one person to at least see Noah walking away, a reason enough to go out and follow Noah, but not enough of a reason to then follow Noah onwards. Unless it did happen, it just wasn't acknowledged in the interviews, because why would you acknowledge it? You acknowledge it, it would make you look suspicious, right? If you don't add on or explain any further, it would make you even more of a person of interest, a possible suspect or a witness, right? In terms of one point, you could say, well, Jack Newton was the one to know because he's the one to say that Noah passed away at 4 a.m. But unfortunately, that screenshot of Jack acknowledging that, it never gave the full context. It never gave the full screenshot as to whether Jack was saying it or re-quoting it from what police said. To my knowledge and memory, we were never shown the full screenshot conversation of that, which is annoying. Because when you look at it at first glance, with just that limited context, it would be understandable to assume that, oh, well, Jack must know. For Jack to know the time of the death, you must have been present to monitor the time, document the time, and witness Noah's final breath, right? If it's just an estimate, and if it's what other people think, maybe police, fair enough, but we don't know if that's where Jack got the information from, because the screenshot doesn't show that. It might show other stuff which Jack has said about what he's been told by, was it Anthony Linares or Zachary Wright, as in what could be the case for Noah to maybe fall out of a vehicle or to be hit in some way, accident, whatever, but that's just an opinion. But that's for something else as well. It's not for the actual time or estimate of death. An estimate, but not strong enough to be justified in adding it to the autopsy report. But you know what? Whilst we're at it, and maybe it's a sideline thing, when people like to blame the police for not doing enough, well, what about the ME, the medical examiner, the person that came on down to inspect Noah's body? That it was claimed that when they were on the way down to Noah's body at the highway, they decided to go to Lawton and do something else. So things were delayed and Noah's body was left out, so rigor mortis, liver mortis set in. But if it was done quicker, maybe the blood could have been fresher. Maybe some of the things wouldn't have kicked in on Noah if he had been examined quicker. And whether anything else would have been found or anything would have been different in the report, whether it led to more progress or not, it's delays. And other things were put first before Noah, even though that was top of the list. So besides blaming the police, you could blame the ME as well, if you wanted to do that, right? The whole duty of care, as in Noah is an adult and responsible and, you know, he can drink if he wants and then when walking away. But if partygoers, some of which were concerned enough to give Noah a shower and assist and escort him to the shower because they didn't want him to fall over, did those same partygoers think or consider of Noah walking off and, you know, is he okay? Could he fall? Could he stumble? It depends what state Noah was in at the time of walking away compared to earlier with the side-by-side rollover. After the side-by-side rollover, if Noah was disorientated, wonky, and couldn't stand properly, and was still pretty drunk, and from shock from the side-by-side, there may have been concern enough to escort and hold him. But when Noah was maybe teabagging and then the debacle in the bedroom and then walking away, if Noah didn't appear that vulnerable or wonky on the legs and he could walk fine, then maybe there wasn't a reason strong enough for people to escort him out or to follow him down to make sure he's okay. It depends on the body language, the social body cues of the individual, the victim Noah. If Noah appeared distressed or vulnerable earlier, that might be why they escorted him to the shower and helped him. If Noah appeared somewhat okay and a little bit energetic, a little bit hyped up, tense, whatever, they may have felt, you know what, we'll let you be. You seem okay, we don't need to hold you or anything like that. You got to look at those cues as well at the time. We're not going to know because we didn't see it. But just thought add these like little bits in to round it up. So it was a bit of an on-the-spot video this, but I just thought it was important to highlight it. So these arguments and claims, what people make or what they truly believe in and are strong with, that's all okay where it's provides above board. But it's not always to go against it. Like this video, some people may assume, oh, it's challenging it, it's going against what people believe, and it's all nasty and it's paid off, deep pockets and all that. No, it's about using common sense and trying to figure out why people think the way they do. Just like Michael Facecast that said Noah never walked away from the party, and I did a video and I tried figuring out what did Michael mean by that. walking away from the party, as in Noah never left the building, or that Noah Presgrove did walk outside the house but didn't walk off the property, remained on site, which is overall considered the party and remaining there. Now, Michael's response was one word: outside. And because it was on a chat replay, I couldn't quite figure out what that meant, and there was no follow-up. But, you know, sometimes it's hard to get answers out of people. Sometimes it's a bit easier. I don't know if people do it on purpose or not, but it's unfortunate. So this video is just to try and understand what people truly mean by there are people that know what happened to Noah, but they're not speaking out. Do you mean speaking out public, or do you mean speaking out to authorities and telling the truth, which would trigger and set the ball rolling quicker? And because it looks like nothing's happening, it must mean that they've not opened up. But where's the actual hard evidence and proof to say or suggest that there are partygoers that do know what happened to Noah? We need to know where people were at certain times. More so, where were people at 3:30? With maybe Jack, Logan, from the looks of it, and maybe Avery being outside around the time when Noah walked off, you could say they know of something. But if they remained where they were and they did not move any further or close the distance with Noah, they're not going to know that much, but they will know more than people that remained in the house, as in what direction Noah walked off, how far he may have gone on down. But you could only gauge that so much. And it depends where other people were, right? That house closer towards the highway on the left, was anyone hanging out about there? Any stray party goers? Besides Noah being the one to just walk away at different points, different parties, was anyone else known to walk away to cool off or not, right? So it's interesting. There might be some grey areas, but just for discussions and possibilities, if anyone has answers or your own thoughts, you can leave it down below in the comment section and we'll go from there. As for the attitudes of partygoers and what they say, we'll still need to do that. Just for timing related, I'll do that when there's more time, and then lock in with it, read out some of the comments, analyse what it really means, some of which what we've seen, others we haven't. But this video on the spot needed to be done. It's just the right place and right time for it, and hopefully you see it that way too. With that being said, we'll leave it there for now. My name's Ref. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night.